Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Stu and the Nine, episode 379. I'm joined here with special guest John Schwartz. Evening, John. Thank you for joining.
Hey, Rob. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, man, I tell you what, I'll go all the way back to the Army and work that way. So I was had the opportunity to go to West Point, graduated in 86, went into field artillery, and after that I spent time at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Then after that I went to Korea for a year, then came back, went to Fort Drum, New York. Then I finished out my career in ECU and teaching East Carolina University, teaching ROTC. And while I was there in ROTC, I came across a brochure for the FBI, so I started getting interested in that. And as I was out processing the Army, the FBI said, the process takes a while. So I went and got a job in the interim, and then got accepted into the FBI in December of 96 and graduated Quantico on April of 97. So
nice. Do you come from a military family? Did anybody in family ever join the military?
Yeah, my father was in the military as well as my brother, but they were both in for a very short time. So we didn't consider ourselves a military family. So just kind of came across the opportunity for West Point. It looked interesting, so I just pursued it. So
nice. And so how did you end up in artillery?
So I wanted to go artillery because I wanted to be combat arms, and I thought that would be the best way to go about it. And I did. I loved it. I was missiles initially, and then I went to cannons, and I enjoyed that. But it was, though. I mean, providing supporting fires for maneuver units, right?
Right. Yeah, there's a whole lot of nothing in Oklahoma and surrounding.
I tell you what, I enjoyed Fort Sill, Oklahoma. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, you're exactly right. It's very, very empty there.
And so you were teaching at East Carolina. I mean, you're teaching ROTC there, or okay? What was that like?
I loved it. I found that the students that we were teaching, the cadets that we were teaching, were very, very motivated. We're looking forward to joining the Army and serving. And I learned a lot in that. You're teaching leadership, and when you teach leadership, you learn leadership. And I saw superb examples of leadership from these young cadets. And I stay in touch with a couple of them even today, 20 plus years later. And they did. Nice. They all had phenomenal careers, and I was very happy for them.
Very nice. That's always rewarding as a teacher to see your students go on and be successful.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. So, yeah, they all were magnificent. I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. So you said you saw the FBI and that looked interesting. Had you ever thought about joining you did this time in the military, in the Army. Was the FBI ever on your radar before that?
No, that's a great question. Never was. I really just came across a brochure one day. I took a look at it, shared it with my wife, and I said, "Hey, what do you think?" She goes, "Yeah, that makes sense. I could see you doing that." So started the process to apply. It's a very long process, but yeah, I was selected. I was very happy, and then after that, was able to go to Quantico, and after Quantico, I was assigned to Washington Field Office here in D.C. and spent all my time, FBI time, here in the DC area. So
Does the FBI do specializations, kind of like what we call an AIT or an MOS in the Army, where you kind of get put in these categories and do certain jobs all the time?
that's a great question. So depending on what type office you go to, if you go to a large office, you'll can either specialize, or they're going to transfer you around so that you can round out your career.
Okay.
If you go to a smaller office, you're expected to know most of the violations, whether it's national security or criminal work. So it really depends on the office. But I really enjoyed that, because if you found an area that you enjoyed doing, say counterintelligence or counterterrorism, you could do that your entire career, and no one's going to make you rotate like you experience in the Army.
So what were you doing in that office? What was your kind of first job?
So I started off on a drug squad doing criminal work, and I found that amazing. That was a great introduction for a career. And then after that, I was able to do counterintelligence for a little bit. Then I was able to go to the aviation squad and fly our surveillance flights for approximately 4 years. And then after that, I jumped back over to counterterrorism, and did that about 3 years. And then after that, went to cyber division. So it is, I mean, that's what the FBI allows individuals to do. It's a great opportunity. So any of your listeners that either young enough to apply, or if you have children, adult children, nudge them that way to take a look at FBI
Right.
FBIjobs.gov.
And right when you're in that, so you said you got out of the Army in '95, right?
Yeah.
So you're in counter, counterintelligence or counterterrorism. That's right in the thick of when we were leading up to 9/11. So you were pretty busy around then, I bet.
Yeah, really was. So I just went over to the National Security Branch maybe a year before 9/11. And then when 9/11 hit, being here in the Washington Field Office, we spent all our time investigating the Pentagon. And saw some great people doing some great work. And it was very tough, but it was also some of the most rewarding work I've ever done.
Right. That's a kind of, that type of event was an all hands on deck type of.
It was. It absolutely was. Right. I mean, our world had changed, our nation had changed, and yeah, the FBI had to respond to it.
Yeah. So anything that you can talk about, any of that, with maybe normal people wouldn't know, or you know.
No, all I'll say to that is it was a great honor to be part of that effort to respond after 9/11. And I saw incredible individuals working tirelessly through that entire time, the initial investigation at the Pentagon, and of course at the other sites as well. But I was very humble and very, very proud to be able to be part of that effort.
Nice, nice. So you mentioned you went into cyber. That's kind of near and dear to me. I'm a solutions architect, a cloud solutions architect by trade. So I've been in communications and in the IT field for a very long time, for close to 30 years now. So did you have any interest in going cyber, or was that just the next available thing and you're just like, that looks kind of cool, or how did you get to cyber?
Yeah, I looked at it. I said, I haven't done cyber yet. I'd like to go in cyber. So I'm not a very technical oriented individual, and I didn't have that experience. So I would tell people, no, I'm not a zeros and ones kind of guy. I'm a policy kind of guy.
Okay.
But I still enjoyed learning as as much as I could about cyber intrusions and how to harden a target and how to harden networks. But it was absolutely fascinating.
Well, and being in that, so that's, post 9/11. So the IT industry changes on, it's always uh, always introducing new stuff, right? The biggest thing right now is AI, right? So that's huge. Uh, but it's evolved, especially since 9/11 to where we're at today, and not only in the technology, but the techniques of our adversaries and how they're attacking and what they're attacking. Can you kind of go into a little bit of that?
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit on that. So it depends on, nation state actors are do their tradecraft differently depending on what country they're from. So you have to be aware of that various tradecraft, as well as the criminal organizations too, and how their tradecraft evolves. But no, we were able to work with private industry as well as governments on how to harden the target and whenever there was an intrusion, be able to react to it very quickly.
Okay.
It was absolutely fascinating.
And so, I mean, the U.S. has made a lot of enemies over the years, right? But our two biggest ones have always been Russia and China, at least as long as I've been alive. And was that always the case early on, and going, to where we're at today, or have you seen that landscape change a little bit over the years?
No, I mean, when I was in the bureau, those were the two main adversaries, right? And it was the majority of the work that we were doing there. So I'll tell you that I got out of the FBI in February of 2021. So it's been a few years since I was last working against cyber adversaries, but I'm sure it hasn't changed much.
Now, hardening the target is always hardening the target, right? I mean, it's just like I said, the technology changes a little bit. It's just a little tweak here and there, and of course it depends on what you're deploying. So
yeah.
So you spend 24 years in the FBI. I'm assuming a good portion of that doing the cyber, and then that led you into what I'm assuming is kind of a huge interest and a passion, and that is what you're doing now for combating elderly financial abuse.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So while I was in the bureau, I started looking at elder financial abuse. I never worked it as a violation. I started gaining an interest in it, and I looked at our nation's effort to combat elder financial abuse, and I saw gaps in it. And I thought that maybe I could retire from the FBI and set up a nonprofit so that I could have most impact throughout the nation as possible. Currently, we have 60 million seniors. I wanted to set up a program to where we look at the crime of elder financial abuse through the eyes of the predator, and then teach individuals how the predators operate so that we can detect a predator. So I'm really going back to my military background, right? I mean, all we're doing here is learning the enemy tactics.
Sure. What were some of those gaps that you identified?
Well, one thing that I saw is that when I was looking for the annual cost of elder financial abuse, I kept seeing various numbers that had a wide range. The first one that I saw was from MetLife, and they came up with a number, and I want to say, yeah, it was $3 billion. Okay, $3 billion. But then another study came out and said, no, it's probably more like 37 billion or $36 billion. And then I was like, well, hang on, that's a wide range. We got to know how big the problem is before we can accurately address it, right? I mean, that's doesn't make sense. So now AARP came out with a study in 2023, and they estimate that the problem is $28.3 billion. And again, that's from 2023. So that's what I go with. But I share with audiences, I tell them, okay, I can rattle off, hey, it's a $28.3 billion, but let's go a little bit further with that. And if you divide that by 50 states, by our 50 states, that means that's a $566 million problem per state. Again, rough. That's a rough figure, right? That's a very rudimentary average, just as a guess, but it is a starting point, right?
Sure.
So if you take a look at that, I mean, what states can say, "Hey, we got a financial problem, a financial crime problem that's larger than $566 million?" When you put it into those terms, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to find something that will compare to that.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some differences, right? So as you have states like Florida that has a very large retirement population, they're obviously going to be more, right? So there's probably places like that should be more encouraged to kind of tackle this type of problem.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great organizations doing great work. But when you look at, hey, our $28.3 billion, I mean, can we do something? Can we provide education to our nation's seniors as well as their trusted and responsible family members too? Because I call the senior who gets attacked financially, I call them the primary victim, but I call family members secondary victims because they're totally affected by this
Sure.
crime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to do. So when we started looking at the crime of elder financial abuse, I thought that a good way to start would be looking at the crime through the eyes of the predator. So I started looking at convicted cases, and I said, I'm going to put these on our website, and these can be free to anybody at any time to read these various convicted predators to learn their tactics and techniques, and that's the principle or guiding principle.
Right. I'm a kind of a pattern recognition type person, right? So I recognize patterns. So do you, other than these individuals being elderly, do you see any other kind of patterns within that, that attack?
Yeah, let me share a pattern that I've come up with, and it's somewhat concerning here. And what it is, and I'm getting my notes in order here. I have two cases. The first case is an individual, and I apologize.
No, it's
I have
okay.
it right in front of me. All right, so let me go through this case first. So this case is Scott Cohen, and here's the pattern here. I'm going to read from a DOJ press release from 2022. But it says a California man receives a 10-year sentence following guilty plea in South Carolina for fraud conspiracy. And below that, it says he masterminded a $300 million Ponzi scheme targeting retirees and military pension holders. It goes on to say that Scott Cohen was a ringleader of a nationwide Ponzi scheme that exploited military veterans in desperate financial straits and targeted elderly investors seeking a safe retirement investment. All right. So we have a predator that was convicted for stealing $300 million through a Ponzi scheme. That's unbelievable. Well, I found another case. Let me read through this. Former investment advisor sentenced to a decade-long Ponzi scheme. John J. Woods was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for operating a 13-year Ponzi scheme, victimizing more than 400 veterans and caused a loss of over $49 million. It said that Woods abused the trust of his victims, including retirees, seniors, military veterans who lost their life savings accounts due to his greed. So here's a pattern. I have two convicted predators, that both ran Ponzi schemes here on American on the soil and targeted military veterans.
Right.
That's one of the biggest patterns that I've found.
Well, your retirees are on fixed incomes, right? So it's not like they're going to go out and go to get another job, maybe a Walmart greeter or something. But when you hit that retirement age, you're on that fixed income, and so as inflation hits, right? And we all know retirees, whether you're getting a pension, your retirement from the military, or maybe a 401k or whatever, it's just never enough. right? So I'm assuming people go after these individuals because those individuals are looking for ways to make their income go further, whether that's through investments or, things like that. And so it makes them, huge targets for that type of stuff.
Well, it does. I mean, it absolutely does. Let's talk about Scott Cohen a little bit more. So he masterminded a $300 million Ponzi scheme. So let's talk about this really quick. Tell me any criminal that needs $300 million. I mean, right? Most criminals, if they could get away stealing $50 million, they could go and buy all the cars, all the houses, all the vacations they want.
Flee the country, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, $50 million. Well, Scott Cohen clearly hit the $100 million mark and said, "That's not enough money. I need to steal more, and I need to create more financial devastation for military veterans." And then he got to the $200 million mark, said the same thing. He was only stopped after he reached $300 million. So I'm elaborating on this point to point out it's not about greed. Greed's the very simple seventh grade answer. These individuals are motivated by the thrill of the hunt. That's the only reason you steal $300 million and create that much financial devastation.
Right.
And that's one of the main points that I wanted to get across in this podcast, but to my audiences too. You better understand the motivation behind your enemy, and that's the case.
Yeah, we talked about states like Florida having a higher, retired population, and you've mentioned veterans a couple of times. Around a lot of large military installations, you find a very large population of retirees because they have close access to services, right? Whether it's the hospital for their medical care, whether it's the PX and the commissary for food and those types of things. So veterans tend to gather around those bases. So you would think that the states that have large bases, Fort Bragg, Fort Hood, Fort Knox, would be very interested in this type of stuff, to help and to protect their communities, right?
Absolutely. That's 100% right. So when we set up this nonprofit, we wanted to work with seniors in all 50 states, and that's what we intend to do. I will tell you that our largest success so far is working in the state of Pennsylvania. We've had the opportunity since 2022 to work with Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs and General Maureen Weigel and her staff there, who is extremely forward-leaning in protecting their senior veterans from various types of elder financial abuse schemes. So it's been a great honor to work with them. Also, we were able to join forces with Association Certified Fraud Examiners, and just this May, we had an article posted in their fraud magazine about elder financial abuse in veterans. So we're doing what we can to help protect veterans throughout the nation, and we're very proud of our work with Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. And let me go a little further on this. I have to point out that we've been able to do this work with veterans of Pennsylvania Veterans Affairs, along with Dr. Michelle Bertina of Westchester University, just outside Philadelphia, as well as Miss Kate Kleinert, who is a former AARP national spokesperson and a victim and a survivor of a romance scheme. So all three of us combined our efforts to write that article for Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and we're absolutely thrilled about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We talked a little bit about, it's the individual getting targeted, right? And then how it kind of, there's secondary. I mean, that absolutely goes on to, widowers that are collecting that military pension after, their husband or significant other dies. So I know, through just friends and things like that, how tight things can be and how difficult it is just to go through that paperwork, just to be the person that, can accept that, that money after the spouse has died. And for that then to be targeted by somebody, it's just reprehensible.
Well, it is. I mean, you stated it very well. It is. It's absolutely reprehensible. Let me also share with Scott Cohen. He placed more than 13,000 veterans in exploitative loans. Come on, 13,000.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is
Yeah.
a lot. So yeah, and the elderly, we've again patterns. I've seen over the probably last decade, we're seeing more Alzheimer's patients, right? So Alzheimer's seems to be more prevalent. I don't know if we're getting better at detecting it, or if it's just actually increased, but I'm sure that plays a huge role in what you're doing. Is how do you go about, I mean, are you able to work with some people that have the power of attorney, or are they very receptive to that type of stuff, or how's that working with Alzheimer's patients?
Yeah, so we haven't worked with any organization specifically, but let me go back to kind of our original theory. So I don't call them fraudsters, I don't call them scammers, I call them predators, because that's exactly what they are. Because they will deliberately target, groom, and take control of their prey. And when I say take control of their prey, I mean I measure that on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest. So if that predator can gain a control level of 8, 9, or 10, they can absolutely wipe out your life savings. So these are predators that
Right.
are targeting. So Predator 101, right? I mean, if you see an elderly individual that has a pretty substantial nest egg, but you see the oncoming of Alzheimer's, right? And you're going to target that
Right.
individual. And
Right.
that's
So how often do you see things like, because it's very, very prevalent and pervasive now, social media, right? So I know myself, and I've taught my kids, careful what you put out there. Be very restrictive. Only allow the people that you know, and don't just put all of your information out there. And one of the important things, I try to express to people is, if you're going on vacation, don't put that on Facebook. Don't say, hey, I'm going on vacation, because then that lets people know, hey, you're not going to be at your house.
all right. Exactly. So what do we call that? That's free intelligence, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what's going on there. So that's what I say as well. Be very careful on what you're posting on social media, and if it gets to the point to where uh, you, if well, let me back up. What I ask seniors and trusted and responsible family members to do is work together as a team and come up with talk about that. Does the senior really need to be on social media or not? Weigh the pros and cons, but maybe not, right? I mean, because the bad actors are on Facebook as well as other social media, and they will target you. Kate Kleiner explains that she met her predator on online, and she says I never took friend request, but this individual, she doesn't. She says she doesn't know why she did, but she did, and
Right.
that was a predator. So what I say is be very careful on social media. Again,
Yeah.
my whole strategy is I want seniors and trusted and responsible family members to work together to harden the target, right?
Sure.
Understand your vulnerabilities and harden the target, because all you have to do is harden the target just a little bit, and that may be all the difference in the world.
Yeah, one of the things I explain to a lot of people when it comes to multiple accounts, right? Especially things like Facebook, and I don't want to sound like I'm picking on Facebook, but Facebook is very pervasive in the way that they allow you to sign into other places using your Facebook credentials, right? So they share all that information. What I try to tell people is, don't do that. Don't do that. You can use the same email address, but use a separate password for each of the different accounts, and then use a password manager to manage your stuff. And what that allows you to do is, if one of them gets compromised, not all of them get compromised, right? So it reduces your footprint, it reduces the effects of what they're attacking. So use separate passwords. And if you can, like me, I use multiple different email addresses across all of my different things. So I try to reduce that impact. So
Yeah, there you go. Right. I mean, these are all simple pieces of advice that helps you harden the target, and it
sure.
applies to
Sure.
seniors as well.
Do you work with any organizations that like teach that type of stuff for seniors, like maybe a Facebook class or a social media class that teaches them how to kind of lock their stuff down? because those settings change, it seems weekly, and they make it harder and harder to find things, and turn certain things off and lock certain things down.
Yeah, exactly. So I haven't teamed up with the group to do that yet, but I'd like to. But let me share, if you don't mind. I came up with 10 actions uh, to take now to protect the elderly from financial predators.
Sure.
Mind if I go through that
Let's
real
go through
quick? So my very first piece of advice would be slow down new relationships, and I'm put that there for a reason. So I say predators speed up relationships in order to create confusion. That's found on various online schemes. So take a romance scheme. You meet somebody on Facebook, and they want to move the conversation to WhatsApp, and
Sure.
then all of a sudden they start talking about, well, I feel a connection between us, and then they'll try to move it forward. Well, we haven't even met. Well, no, I'm overseas. I can't meet you, but I feel this strong connection, and they'll try to speed up the relationship.
Well, that happens with retirees, right? So we talked about being on the fixed income, right? Well, that one of the next thing that happens as retirees is because as we get older, we lose spouses, we lose friends, and so elderly are always looking for, some friendship, looking for somebody, to kind of, especially somebody their age with some shared experiences. So that makes them another easy target on top of, just being elderly and being on that fixed income.
Well, that's exactly right. So what I say is these predators, whether it's online or people that you meet in person, they will target your emotions. I call it emotional hijacking. So what you just described there, loneliness. Loneliness is a very strong emotion, right? And if that predator feels they could fill that gap of loneliness through the emotion of love, yeah, they'll run with that, and it's very successful.
Right. Yep.
So I share with romance schemes. I'll say, ask your new online friend to conduct a video call and also have a friend or family member sit with you while you're doing that, right? I mean, like this setting here,
Sure.
ask that individual to do a online video. Third one I want to hit on is online investment schemes. Be extremely careful on taking investment advice from your new online friend. And I'll follow that with number 4, cryptocurrency. Be very careful making online investments or online payments through cryptocurrency. Those are what I just covered there. Those are the 4 major ones that I share with audiences, because it's cryptocurrency and these online, you're meeting your new best friend online who's
Sure.
suggesting that, hey, have you ever looked at cryptocurrency? That's what I'm seeing. That's the trend and pattern that I'm going.
Well, cryptocurrency being new, I mean, there are ways to do it, but it's kind of billed as untraceable, right? So it's a little more difficult to trace that cryptocurrency than it is bank accounts and who's accessed what, right? So it's a nice target to go after.
Yeah, I think so. That's exactly right. So what I tell, I don't tell individuals, hey, don't do cryptocurrency. What I do tell them is, if you've never done cryptocurrency, don't start learning from your new online friend. Let me share something with you that I found. So this is a press release from Senator Durbin from just February of this year. What he says in this press release is very important. So I want to share it with everyone. It says, there are now more than 30,000 cryptocurrency ATMs in this country, and they have been used by criminals to cheat Americans out of their hard-earned savings to a tune of 114 million in 2023 alone. Most of the victims are senior citizens. So let's stop right there. You have a U.S. senator saying we have 30,000 cryptocurrency ATMs in the United States today, and these machines are being used to steal Americans' hard-earned savings. So that's why I wanted to cover those 4 suggestions, as well as that fact. These cryptocurrency schemes, I'm seeing them time and time again, and I'm seeing individuals lose hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. Well, kind of like the drug wars, right? So part of the part of the problem with government is their ability to react efficiently and effectively, right? And that, so let's say you have a drug and it's a certain formula, right?
Yeah.
Well, if now that formula becomes illegal, all they have to do is go in and tweak one molecule and it no longer falls under what was now illegal. And so cryptocurrency, their tactics are changing, right? So all of the old tactics have been caught up to. And so then now they've got to find new areas to go after and, a new vector to attack.
No, that's it. I mean, you described it perfectly there. That's exactly right. So
Right.
we've got to get ahead of the ball game. So again, I appreciate being invited on
Yeah.
here today, because we've got to do a much better job in hardening the target.
Right.
I'll give you another tip that I want to share with the audience. Is sometimes there'll be pop-up screens, and the pop-up screens will say, "Hey, your computer's been compromised. We found 14 viruses." Before we go any further, but it's a sense of urgency, right? Speeding up the process. What we need you to do is either pull out your driver's license or credit card and hold it up to the camera so that we can verify you are who you are, right? Boom.
Right.
That's the attack, and it happens that quickly. So never share any information
Sure.
like I just gave a demonstration of
Sure.
there.
Yeah, I encourage people, whether it's a laptop or whether it's a desktop like I'm working on now, have a camera that you can close the shutter on, right? And
Yeah.
they make little devices for your laptops as well, so you can cover it, or just put a piece of paper over it. They don't. There's no reason, because that's becoming another attack vector, is being able to take over your laptop, take over the different devices, keyloggers and etc. But cameras as well. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And then let me go with these pop screens a little bit further. What I suggest seniors and trusted and responsible family members do also: know how to turn off your volume on your computer, and know how to turn off your computer altogether. I say volume because some of these pop-up screens will also have a alarm on it, and it's annoying, and it's going to make you act more hastily. And then also, if a pop-up screen comes up, it's going to scare you. Know that you can turn off your machine, and you'll be safe. So
right.
please practice that one thing. And with these pop-up screens, if there's a number to call immediately, do not call that number. Don't call a number on a pop-up screen, a text, or an email.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One of the biggest things, being an IT guy, that I see is you go, whether it's from your provider or whether you go buy a router yourself, and people install it and they never change the default password, right? And so all of those default passwords are all over the internet. Anybody who searches whatever brand it is, and a lot of times you can get the brand based off the serial number or the MAC address or things like that. And if you're attacking from the outside, you can go see what the default password is, and you can find out that very easily. So make sure you harden that router as well, so that's your entry point into your network. So
That's a great piece of advice. Yeah, that's exactly right. Change that password. And then for your computer, also for your telephone,
yeah.
keep up to date with the updates for both machines. And if a senior is not familiar how to do that, maybe you have a trusted and responsible grandchild that can help you with that. But that's absolute key, right?
Yeah, and that goes with all the devices you add as well, right? Like, so if you add a camera or your, whatever other types of devices, those have passwords on them. Make sure you lock them down. Make sure you put a password on them that's not the default out of the box.
Yeah, that's right. And then, right, I mean, change these passwords,
Yeah,
annually or whatnot.
sure.
But
Yeah,
have a program and work with a trusted and responsible family member every 6 months. Take a look at where you are on this program.
yeah,
On my website, I have a couple of things on there. 3 things. First of all, I have a vulnerability survey, and that was developed by Wayne State University and Dr. Peter Lichtenberg. And I'm very thankful that they allow us to have it on our website. But that would be the number one piece of advice I would tell seniors is take that simple 17-question survey, because you'll identify your vulnerabilities. And now you're looking at yourself the way the predators look at you. And if you understand what your vulnerabilities that predators can exploit, now you can develop a strategy to harden the target.
Well, one of my favorite coaches of all time was Bill Parcells,
Yeah.
primarily because I'm a Cowboys fan. But and Bill Parcells had and I'll probably butcher it, but Bill Parcells said, "When you don't know what you don't know is worse than when you do know what you don't know." Right. So think about that. If you don't know what you don't know, you've got to have a starting point. And so if you don't know you have all these vulnerabilities that you do, you may think you're secure. But if you go and take that survey and you realize, hey, I've got all of these problems, I need to make sure that I take care of those.
That's it, right? And
Now,
then take that survey every 6 months. What I suggest seniors do is mark on your calendar every 6 months, 1 hour, and sit down with your trusted and responsible family members. Take that vulnerability survey, identify your new vulnerabilities, and work together to develop strategies. So if you take a 65-year-old that's still married to their spouse, they're a healthy family close by, they're active in the church or playing golf, they're going to score low on that. But advance that timetable up maybe past 5 years. Maybe a spouse has passed away. Maybe that was the spouse that managed the household finances. Right now, that vulnerability score increases. So just because you rank low on vulnerability at age 65, just make it common practice. 1 hour every 6 months. That's 2 hours a year,
sure.
because you've worked 40 plus years to make your entire life savings. And you certainly don't want one of these financial predators to take it all away in a blink of an eye.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what else you got on your list?
So what I would also suggest is if you're getting a high number of calls, just simply take a look at considering changing your telephone number and sharing that new number with just trusted individuals. Another one that's that everybody's heard of before: don't click on text and don't click on links in text and emails. We all know that, but I want to
Sure.
mention that again. And then with these tech support schemes, I've already said, do not call that telephone number. That's exactly right. And then the last one is consider freezing your credit. I don't
Sure.
say go ahead and do it. I just say consider it.
Well, they have things like LifeLock and stuff like that you can put on there to help you kind of restrict that. And those, sure, there's a cost to that, but if you're going to be a target, that at least help make it, smaller attack vector. You mentioned the calls. I'll tell you a quick story. This happened probably about a year ago. I'm sitting at my desk and I'm working, and my cell phone rings, and it comes across as the name of the bank that I bank with. So my bank never calls me. I answer it, and the guy starts asking these questions. And me being an IT guy, I immediately know it's a scam. So I said, no, that's okay. I'll call the bank myself. My wife in the other room, her phone immediately rings, and it was literally the same guy trying to get her to answer the questions I wouldn't answer. So if you get a call from your bank, politely tell them no, thank you, and then turn around and call the bank yourself. Flip over your card and look at the number that's on the back and call that number. Or if you have the app on your phone, call them through the app on your phone. Never answer any questions for somebody who has called you and starts asking you questions about your bank. Never answer those. So
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. One piece of elder financial abuse that I want to touch on, if you don't mind, is the emotional aspect of elder financial abuse. What happens if you do become a victim and you've lost your entire life savings, and now you blame yourself, and you may go to dark areas? What I want to share with the audience right now is we never, never, never blame the victim. We always put 100% of the blame on the predator who committed a criminal act. And that's huge. That's a very huge message, because that will help seniors protect themselves from going into very dark thoughts.
right.
At that point, they may be facing one of the largest crises in their entire lives, and they need their family support.
Yeah.
Well, I want to share that. We never, never blame the victim. 100% blame goes on predators every time. And that's a segue into a program that we're just kicking off. It's called the Unbreaking Project with Kate's Hug. And our center is conducting that with Advocating Against Romance Schemers, and it's being sponsored by Match Group. Let me tell you a little bit about this. So it's named after Kate Kleiner, who we've been working with, and she was a romance scheme survivor. And what we developed, the idea that we developed was for these individuals that have lost all their life savings, what can we do? And Kate came up with the idea of giving them a hug, a physical hug through an item. So we decided that we would have blankets. So through the generous donation through Match Group, we have enough funding to purchase 200 of these kits, and we're going to give them out to law enforcement anywhere in the country, so that if they do get a call from a victim and they've lost their entire life savings and that money probably won't be returned, at least law enforcement can give them one of our Kate's Hug kits with a blanket so that they can wrap it around their shoulders and know that someone cares. So I wanted to put that information out, because this emotional component of elder financial abuse you don't see in many other types of crimes, but it's very, very important.
Have you been able to work with any state representatives or, at the federal level to kind of help push legislation, to get more protection for seniors?
No, we haven't. So when we set up as a 501c, a veteran operated 501c3 nonprofit, we said that we were going to do education and that we weren't going to lobby for new laws.
Yeah,
and we'll educate lawmakers on what I've shared with everybody today, the annual cost, how that breaks down per state, and that I look at it through the eyes of the predator. But so I'll educate, but no,
as a C3 you can't lobby. I mean, if you were a C4 or other, you could. So, but as a C3 you can't. So that's I'm hoping that there's some groups out there that are lobbying for better protection. We talk about this in the country a lot about our most vulnerable, right? And you hear a lot about the homeless, which absolutely they're vulnerable. You hear a lot about our children, which are absolutely vulnerable. But we can't forget about our seniors, right? If it weren't for our seniors, we wouldn't be here. And so we've got to make sure that we give them every bit of protections that they can. So.
Amen. Yeah, you said it perfectly. I agree with you 1,000%. It's a underserved. Sometimes it's an underserved population, and we're just trying to bring attention to seniors as well.
Yeah, I was just thinking while we were talking about the social media stuff, and one of the things that an idea that just came to me is social media needs to put in a senior function, right? Say, hey, this individual using this as a senior, and you can turn that on, and it completely locks down your environment to all the protections and hardens it as hard as it needs to be. There should be something like that within social media to help protect those seniors. I think that'd be very easy to code in. You can turn it on and turn it off. But I think that would be a very simple, even beyond seniors, even for kids, for children, have a children function to where it completely locks it down and keeps out predators, keeps them, from them being discovered, searchable, all of their information being on the web. So I think social media has an obligation to protect their customers, and that's something that they should do.
No, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, again, we've already talked about how seniors are targeted through various forms of social media. So it is a little bit of hardening the target goes a long way.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's any appetite for the social media companies to do any of that, because then that reduces, the amount of information that they can gather, the amount of information that they can sell. That you think about like things like Instagram and Facebook. They can find a meme that you put up 3 years ago and suspend your account, but they can't get rid of all the pornography and the exploitation of different people. So it's almost as if there's no appetite for there. So I think the government definitely has some work to do in the social media platforms.
Yeah.
So
That's very good. But Yeah, just going back to the emotional piece of this really quick. I can't state this enough because I've seen too many cases to where families have lost a loved one from taking their own lives. And then once the senior is passed away, now the secondary victims, the family members, they live with that pain for the rest of their lives, and they live
Sure.
with it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes they're left with some of the debt as well. The government's going to get their money.
Yeah.
So yeah, the government then comes after those children, for that debt. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
you
So, right. I mean, it's there's so many different aspects to this crime, and
right.
trying to address some of them here in this conversation.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. Well, is there anything else you want to cover? You got any more tips and tricks?
No, just I'll say this, right? I mean, these predators aren't going to go away. Technology is only going to increase. So I think we have a perfect storm brewing. Right now, we're at 60 million seniors. We're going to be at 70 million seniors in the next 5 years. That is the largest 5-year growth of seniors our nation's ever
Wow.
experienced. So are we ready for that? And I mean, so what I'm urging individuals to do, harden the target, be very proactive in educating yourself, right? I mean, listen to this, but then do your own research online. Look up, I stated a couple of cases, but look up cases yourself, and then work with a trusted and responsible family member.
Sure.
Don't let yourself be isolated because those predators will
Right.
see that.
You showed a couple of cases, and those seem to be citizens here in the U.S. Do you happen to know what the kind of percentage of the breakdown is from overseas attacks on these elderly versus domestic?
No, I don't. I'll tell you roughly 50%, but that's not a very,
Okay.
it's not based on any, it's only
Right.
based on what we're seeing. But let me share with you one thing that we are seeing is that we are seeing individuals, foreign nationals here on U.S. soil that are acting as money couriers. And once a online predator is communicating with you and saying, well, you owe this amount of money, or your grandparents scheme, uh, $8,000 will get your grandson out of prison. We're going to send a courier to your house to pick
Right.
up the money. We see a lot of that. So if I would tell your audience, if you get one of these calls and a courier is coming to your home, call law enforcement
Sure.
immediately and they can intercept them. But I'm seeing a lot of these money courier cases. So I want to share that. And then the new tactic that these money couriers are doing is they're asking individuals to go buy gold bars, and they'll come and pick up the gold bar. So it's called the gold bar scheme, and I'm
Right.
seeing that. So these are foreign nationals, but they're on American soil picking
Right.
up funds.
Well, we talked briefly about AI, and that's a big one that I know of, where you'll get a phone call and it'll sound like it's from somebody you know, but it's all AI generated, right? And so you may get a call from your granddaughter or your grandson saying, "Hey, I'm in jail. I need you to wire money to this number or to this whatever." My suggestion would be, if you get that, hang up immediately, call that individual back yourself, your grandson, your granddaughter, your daughter, your son, from the number you have in your phone, and speak to them. If that couple of seconds, if they're in jail, they're not going anywhere for the next couple of seconds. So call them back on your cell on the number that you have, and then call the authorities. Right. So call the authorities and report it.
Yeah, exactly. So, right, I mean, the grandparent scheme, what you just described, right? I mean, emotional hijacking. Well, this is your grandchild, right? So they're
Yeah.
trying to emotionally hijack you, and they're trying to speed you up too.
Yeah.
So what you just said was slow down, take a deep breath,
Yeah.
hang up, and call
Call them
either
back.
that grandchild or their parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
one thing that they'll do is that they'll call with the grandparent schemes either really late at night or really early in the morning too. So right, that's an extra
Sure.
piece of vulnerability. You're awakened by this call. Hey, your grandson.
Yeah.
Understand that's a tactic.
Yeah. Don't call me before I've had my coffee.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
I'm not awake yet. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Well, John, I appreciate you coming on and giving us, sharing this information, sharing your organization. Is there any final thoughts you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, I hope that this was helpful for individuals. Please go to our website, endefa.org. It stands for End Elder Financial Abuse. It's a free website, no passwords required. It's open 24/7. And if you like what we're doing, and if you'd like to make a donation, you can easily donate on our website as well. Any donation would be greatly appreciated because we're brand new and we're trying to grow.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon. Thanks to our sponsors, Marvita, Gear for Grunts, Enlisted Nine Fight Company, Alpha Elite Performance, Boohammer.com. Appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Thank you, John, for coming in and bringing all this information.
Thank you, Rob.
Hang on.